Hello again. So I just switched hands, and when I did that, I minimized the screen and it stopped the video, and I don't know how to edit, which I wasn't ready to get into yet, but I was going to by the end of this video. So there you go. I guess this is part 2 of what was supposed to be one video. Anyway, all the stuff that people blame God for and ask why He allows. He doesn't allow. He never did allow. That is why we were separated from Him when we learned what evil was and we allowed it into our hearts. That is what separated us from God in the beginning. And the work that Jesus did on the cross repaired that broken relationship and reconciled us to God. My arms are so tired from holding this. Oh, man. Oh, I need to hurry. Anyway, I didn't really think I was going to get into all that, but I just kind of did. So there you have it. So, after I finally did read the Bible, take my 333-day sabbatical, and realize that if this work was ever going to become anything, God needed to get all of the glory, all of the credit. He needed to be front and center. And through all of that, I got, 9 years older, 8 years older, whatever. And just, I am now about 10 years, 8 to 10 years away from retirement. And in the world we live in, I don't really see this work necessarily ever gaining any kind of a foothold and being embraced, because this world is ruled by the Prince of Darkness. And the last thing that the Prince of Darkness wants is for this work to succeed and grow and captivate the hearts and minds of the people of this world. So, that said, as most of you probably know, I started attending church finally. God led me to a church because I had, the prince of this world is also very present in many of the churches. Even the different factions and denominations within Christianity and the whole Christian versus Catholic, it's just such a confusing deceptive tactic of the enemy to, destroy our understanding and effectiveness of the gospel and the Great Commission and the fellowship that we need to have with one another, the forgiveness, the love that we need to have for one another. he so effectively destroys so much of that, and leaves us largely floundering in a lack of knowledge or an overstimulation of so much false knowledge. And he's really just delaying the inevitable, because I don't really pay attention much to end day stuff. It's kind of a little bit doom and gloomish, even though, it's not, because that's when God will make it known to mankind that he is the King of Kings and the Sovereign Lord, and every knee shall bow. So that's glorious. But in the Bible somewhere it talks about I think God's talking to Abraham. Yeah, he's talking to Abraham about what is going to happen through his descendants, and that he's going to have all these descendants, but that before all the blessings of the nations occur, his descendants are going to spend 400 years in captivity, and it has to be that way because in the Bible it talks about the Amalekites, I believe it is the group of people whose sin hasn't, I forget the exact words, but they've not reached the level of sin yet. But they're on their way, but they haven't reached it yet. And God is waiting for that to happen before he brings the Hebrews who become the Israelites out of, or maybe they're already the Israelites, but anyway, the Hebrew Israelites out of, and not today's Hebrew Israelites, by the way. Come on, guys, that's just more division and more confusion from the enemy. Let's get on board and get together with all this. But I digress. Anyway, before he's going to deliver the Israelites from slavery and basically have them engage in physical/spiritual warfare against the evil that has taken over the Amalekites and basically all of the world, but the Amalekites specifically. And that through his Abraham's descendants, all the peoples of the world will be blessed. But first, all this bad stuff has to happen, even leading us into those blessings with the annihilation or genocide, if you want to call it, of the Amalekites that was called for. All has to take place before it was like, I mean, I could be completely wrong here, but the way I'm seeing it right now in my mind, it was like an attempt to purge evil from the world in the same way God's laws that he handed down to Moses were intended to purge evil, or to keep evil from even entering into the community of Israelites, in order to bring God's blessing and the knowledge of God and the knowledge of the fear of the Lord and the love of the Lord to all four corners of the earth, all the peoples of the earth. And I kind of feel like the end times is the same on like a global scale. So it's like the evil of our world needs to come to a point. And everyone needs to hear the gospel and have the knowledge of who God is, of what He wants for us, and the choice of being able to believe or turn away and continue to follow the ways of the world, which are evil in every inclination of their hearts, our hearts. Again, not that God allowed that. God told us we could eat anything in the entire earth except from that one tree. And we believed the lie of the evil one, that God was lying to us, that we surely wouldn't die if we ate from that tree, but that we would be like God. And we desired that. And we still do largely. I mean, I was doing that with this work. I didn't consciously know it or accept it, but by trying to shove God's work down the world's throat, I was thinking that in some way I had the power inside me, with God having my back instead of whatever, that I was going to be able to make the world see and understand. And then they would turn to God. I don't even know what I was thinking. Looking back on it, it was just a big joke. I mean, who do I think I was? Where was I when He laid the foundations of the earth? I mean, who am I? I'm like one of these mosquitoes that I've been swatting away while I've been talking to you. A little teeny mosquito. When God is the creator of the entire universe, not even this world and everything in it, but the entire universe. The sun and the moon, all of the stars, all of the galaxies, whatever's out there. He created it all. And who created God, you ask? Nobody. He's eternal and outside of time. If there was ever a beginning to God, we will never understand it, and we don't need to. So don't even try. Just believe and trust Him to protect you from the evil one and to give you everything you need to live well and live long in this life. Getting back to where I am today and why I look like this. As I said in the first part of this video, I am camping in a dispersed camp spot near Silverthorne, Colorado. And since I am no longer doing these weekly videos and Bible shares, I'm kind of isolating myself with God's Word, going through the entire Bible myself, taking notes, which I am going to eventually use to write a book that I believe is going to be titled On Earth as It Is in Heaven. And we'll figure out how to share what I learned throughout that experience with you all at some point, probably 10 to 12 months from now. I don't know. Well, by the end of the year, I'm hoping to have finished going through the Bible. But so far I'm still in Genesis, and I've taken quite a few notes on Genesis, so we will have to see. Plus, I need to discipline myself better and read more often, but I will be able to do that. I will definitely do that. So anyway, I thought that I would start doing this dispersed car camping thing, as I said, I think on the last video. Yeah. for 10 months, the end of 2017, the beginning of 2018. I lived out of a bright red Jeep Liberty that I named Ruby, and I loved it, and I loved her. What is that? It's been on my lip the whole time. Smudge. Probably smudge. And I just felt so free. And I did a lot of, well, I didn't do a lot of camping in the mountains because I worked full time while I was doing that the whole time. But I did do some, and I loved it so much. So, and right now my full-time job is overnight shifts, Sunday through Thursday nights. So I get off at 7 a.m. Friday morning. And I thought that a couple times a month I would head up to the mountains and do some car camping and read the Bible. In the mountains, I've always felt closer to God in the mountains. Well, I mean, I wasn't young when I lived out of Ruby, but I'm even older now. And I also lived out of an office space for nearly 2 years during my sabbatical and beyond until this last February when I moved into the space I'm in now. I lived out of an office space. So there was no shower there. There was no sink inside the office space. It was fine. I was blessed. I made do. I had my lifeguard job for most of that time. I had my Planet Fitness membership. And I did have a shared bathroom that I really rarely shared with anybody inside of the office building that had a sink. So, I mean, I had access to everything I needed. But still, I had to make adjustments. It wasn't a normal way of living. I didn't have a kitchen. So, I had my camp stove that I used. I got a convection oven. Had a microwave, of course, a mini fridge. But now I have my own spot, with a bathroom. It's a tiny bathroom, but it's a bathroom. With a kitchen, with a gas stove. I just love my kitchen. I love the whole spot. With a bedroom, with the actual real bed. It's amazing. And while I do love the mountains, and also in Silverthorne I found out there's a rec center, I'm going there later, that has a hot tub. I love hot tubs. I love baths even. And in my new spot, it's just a shower. But I'm blessed. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying. I love hot tubs. Being able to use the hot tub once or twice a week when I had my lifeguard job was a complete blessing. Didn't even have to pay for it. Anyway, there is a rec center in Silverthorne that has a hot tub. I'm going there later. So I thought that like twice a month I would come up, disperse camp for free in the mountains near Silverthorne, and use the hot tub a couple times a month. It's just too much, guys. My bed was in my car, was fairly comfortable, and I know I can make it more comfortable, so that won't be an issue. But, having the little potty setup thing and having to deal with that and having to make my coffee the way that I'm about to make it, in the car, it's not like I have that much to like unpack and set up, but I still do, and then I have to tear it all down. It's not fun. I got here yesterday at like 2 p.m. and it's somewhere around 9 a.m. I think now, Saturday morning. I haven't read anything from my Bible. I have read some of my notes. That was interesting to go over. And last night I did read some of my notes that I wrote in my Bible. Not about the Bible, but like at the end, there's a place for notes. And at some point in time when I was in the office space, I wrote down some stuff in there. In the front of my Bible where I put my name, I wrote down some Bible verses. I went over those. So, I mean, a little bit I did. And then my notes that I went through in my journal that basically covered about a year just before moving into the office space and just after moving into the office space. That was interesting to go over. But I didn't. Like, my back really hurt by the time I got here and got set up when I needed to get set up. So I just stretched out. And then, like I said, I work overnights. I had worked a Thursday overnight. Didn't get here. Packed up the car and everything. Got everything ready. Packed up the car. Drove up here. Got set up. My back hurt. So I didn't really get anything. I didn't bring food that I needed to cook, but that's good because I wouldn't have anyway. All I did was eat snacks yesterday. While I was stretched out in the car trying to recuperate, it's just not going to work for me. So I think I might go ahead and drive to Silverthorne. It's only an hour and a half away, so it's not bad. I might drive to Silverthorne twice a month to use the rec center's hot tub, which isn't going to be free. It's going to cost me $16, but you know, my job will provide that for me. And then go, and I also thought that while I was up here, I would, hike and get some physical activity and get the activity of loading up the car and setting up the camp and breaking down the camp. Anyway, I can drive up after sleeping in my bed Friday night, all night, instead of being at work. I can drive up Saturday. I can go for a nice hike. I can go to the rec center and use the hot tub and drive back to my bed. And that sounds much better to me. So I think my car camping days have pretty much come to an end. With that said, let me show you around my camp, and then I will finish my time here and go use the hot tub and head home and sleep in my bed tonight and get up and go on my weekly date with my sweet love tomorrow for Bible study and church. Alright, hopefully I can flip this camera around without pausing it or stopping it, I mean. There we go. So here's my campsite. No fires. Which I don't know why it rained enough. Should be able to have a nice fire right there, but no fires. Fires are prohibited. Even taking this cover off of this chair that I'm sitting on this morning, there's a small hole in it, so it was kind of stuck on part of the chair. I struggled even getting the chair out of the... Good Lord. Yeah, I'm not as rugged as I used to be, or as young as I used to be. Oh. Pretty nice, huh? Nice little spot. The mess. That is the back of my camouflage potty room. And then this is the screen mesh, half of it anyway, from my canopy. I knew I didn't have the energy to like bring that and set it all up, especially for one night. But I wanted to, with the back of my car open, hang up a bit of a screen from the bugs. And I mean, I was thinking about bugs clearly, but I also wasn't. I mean, ugh, I don't have to deal with bugs. Once in a while, there might be a spider. I've had a few things happening with ants in my spot, but yeah, the bugs. Oh, the bugs. Anyway, there's my potty room. I don't need to show you that. And then I have this other chair that has the shade thing. So I was able to kind of put the screen over that, over the top of this. And then before I closed the car to sleep in it last night, it was hooked up to this, so it was kind of screened in a little bit. They still got in there, but luckily I also have, this was one of the best things. It was so great when I was with Ruby. This is a mesh screen that I hung up over the back of the car so I could get in and out, but the bugs couldn't. There's my bed. See, it looks pretty comfy, doesn't it? I mean, it was, but not the greatest. And there's my Snoop light that Eric and Jennifer gave me. That was a nice little night light all night for me last night, and my power source I have there. I mean, I have all the comfort. See that little light bulb hanging? That's a light. That other light clipped over there, I ended up using that one. But yeah, got my little rug that looks like a shag carpet. Actually, it's a blanket, I'm sorry. My blanket that looks like a shag carpet that I use for a camping rug. There's where I drove in from the road. Got my screen things. So when I first got here and set up, it was hot. So hot that I put those on, but I didn't even roll down the windows. I turned on the air conditioner. And then overnight last night, I needed to roll those up and turn on the heat. And then this morning too, it was still pretty cold. I turned on the heat. So just as I pulled up, I think I was just starting to set up through that little clearing, I guess I would call it right there. A moose and her child. It wasn't a baby moose. It was kind of big, but you could tell it was a child moose. Ran through. It was so awesome. I almost missed it. I'm so glad I didn't. It was so cute. The little moose just following the mama moose. They were running through, probably heading towards the water, which is over this way. I'm going to walk to that later. There's a little animal trail right there you can't really see. But then there's, if you go up that way in between the trees, I believe that leads to the stream. I don't know if it's big enough to be a river, but it's not too far from here. You drive right by it if you keep going up the road a ways. And down the road, I also drove by it, so it's not too far from here. I'm going to go check that out after I make some coffee. There's the other side of my... And they might have come through here, but I think they went all the way through that clearing on the other side. But yeah, over here is... I was thinking it was little hiking trails, but that might be an animal trail. You see that? Yeah, you can kind of see that. It might actually be an animal trail. And then I think there's one over here as well. That's the end of the place where you can drive up from the road. Yeah, and then there's another one right here. It looks like a hiking path, but it might be an animal trail. Maybe both, since it does go from the campsite. I don't know. But yeah, aspens up here. It's really beautiful. Definitely beautiful. And there's the camp. And I am going to get out my camp stove and my teapot. I've got, which I use this at home, but where is it? Having to deal with trash. See, I have this little pour over coffee maker thing, and I brought whole coffee beans, and I've got the grinder here, which, like I said, I use this at home. I'm gonna do that, make coffee. In that cooler over there, I've got blueberry bagels with cream cheese. I sliced up some fruit yesterday and put it in a baggie. I'm going to have that. And then I'm going to walk down to the water. And then I'm going to break this stuff down. That's another thing. I got to deal with everything getting dirty. It's just too much. I need to take this toothbrush and toothpaste and use this water to brush my teeth. It's just too much for me. So it's been enjoyable. But what's really going to be enjoyable is getting to that hot tub and soaking in that hot tub. And then sitting my butt in the driver's seat and driving back to my fully stocked home that includes a kitchen and a bathroom, and sleeping in my bed tonight and going to church tomorrow to worship and praise my God, your God, our God, the creator of the universe. So yeah, I think that's about it for now. Love God, y'all, and love each other.